Good morning and welcome back to the Goon multiplayer spectacular. SctochDK as the Fukuhara Taira is fighting GenericServices as the Yashima Taira, and we are in the second match. Scotch has won the first, and if GenericServices fails to win this match, he will have been eliminated from the tournament. As you can see, Scotch has changed his army up somewhat. He's brought along 2 regiments of Bow Levy, Nagi Levy, Nagi Attendants, some Nagi Levy, and in addition to his standard Naginata attendants. And of course, on the flank, he has bought a single mounted samurai. And GenericServices has bought his mounted Naginata, and of course, a fairly similar army composition to last time. More monk heavy, 2 warrior monks, and 2 Nagi attendants, and only the 2 bow levy. Is that 2 Nagi attendants? 3 Nagi attendants. So only the bow levy. And of course, the single cavalry, which he's using to push Scotch off the archery dojo quite effectively. Now, this is probably a bit of a mistake, is letting Scotch's Nagi attendants take the farmhouse unopposed, especially since the battle lines appear to be set almost opposite to the starting points, where the Scotch has moved to the north and Generic has moved to the south. And while that has basically no support and really no way of getting any support, you should bring 1 or 2, maybe the Nagi warrior monks, just down, bring them in, quickly finish those attendants off, because attendants with that sort of, with no support, really won't last very long, and that will then give you the farmhouse. And the farmhouse it's one of the better buildings, honestly. I didn't like it when I first started playing, because who cares about reduction to stamina and running slightly faster. But it just means that your openings, you've got that little bit longer to respond to openings in the enemy setup, and your troops, it's basically a morale boost, because you don't have the penalty of being fatigued, in addition to the extra damage and that. So the Mounted Naginata and the Mounted Samurai play chicken, and the Mounted Naginata get a great little charge in here, but I'd almost immediately withdraw them, because you're just going to lose them in that scenario, and we can see already that they're starting to drop quite rapidly, and there's a very large collection of forces here. So the Naginata warrior monks are brought up around the workshop to try to consolidate this center line here, because obviously all the forces are being channeled through the workshop. Now, I don't know why he's sitting the monks here. It's good that he's caught the Nagi attendants with the Nagi attendants to Nagi attendants. But, and now that they've routed, really the best use is to dispatch a bow levy and have the bow levy capture the farmhouse and continue chasing the Nagi attendants, just to ensure they stay off the field. The loss of a bow levy for the duration of this fight is probably a good trade in order to get the benefits that the farmhouse give. So we can see that the warrior monks here are grinding quite well with GenericServices. Scotch's sword attendants, he's popped Bonsai on them in order to keep them in the fray, and that's absolutely critical. Hold the battle line for as long as possible. And really, you would expect GenericServices to win this side of the fight pretty handily. Although I would have thought that with 2 warrior monks in there, I'd be seeing some more Warcry. In fact, I don't recall having seen any Warcry, and that's a problem. It's something that we really need to use, because it would just immediately shatter that Nagi attendant, that bow levy, and would just mean that those Nagi warrior monks could be in amongst those bow levy, chewing it up, and basically collapse that entire flank. You can see that SctochDK has put all of his firepower towards the workshop front, and that's probably a smart move, because if you can push through and then capture the workshop, that will give him the edge he needs to win this fight. In addition to the fact that his troops aren't fatiguing out, because he already has the farmhouse. In fact, his Nagi attendants have reformed, and he's brought them back to keep them on the farmhouse, just to deny that from GenericServices, which is a fantastic use of a shattered remnant unit like that, which won't last in any actual combat. So these Nagi attendants are definitely going down, being hit by 2 regiments, Nagi attendants, Nagi levy, and sword attendants. And these Naginata warrior monks are doing reasonably well against the Naginata warrior monk hero, but at the same time, without any support, their morale's going to fail, they're going to rout, and there's just not going to be anything for it. Mounted Samurai hero is doing well, putting shots into the Nagi warrior monk hero, And we can see on this side here that that battle has completely resolved in GenericServices' favor, but his units are completely exhausted. This is what I meant about the farmhouse would have been absolutely fantastic. We see some use of the swooping crane here, which doesn't happen very often, but just continued shots into a unit rather than the whole single volley effect. It's fun to look at. I'm yet to see it being all that useful, and those Nagy attendants have been driven from the field. The main reason I prefer to not use it is it really does tire your horses out because they get fatigued at the rate of sprinting. And so that's no good. So finally, these Nagy warrior monks have given up the ghost here, and these Nagy levy are coming through. But GenericServices is rallying and rebuilding what's left of his forces on this flank. This is actually a really, really close match. It could go either way at the moment. We've got arrows flying everywhere into these Nagy levy, and a great side hit from these Nagy warrior monks, even if they are quite tired. And they do good damage, you know. We can see immediately that 30 of the levy have just dropped. In fact, there's 170 kills on those Nagy warrior monks, so to say they're MVPs at the moment would probably be an understatement. I don't think anything else has done that good. Scotch tried to bring his mounted samurai through the trees, but GenericServices had a little bit something extra, hidden Nagy monks in the trees that have savaged these mounted samurai and pushed them back off the field. So, we can see immediately that we've got these Nagy attendants coming through, and the Nagy monk hero and a sword attendant. It might just be one unit too many for GenericServices to handle by Scotch, but we've definitely got a little bit of everything going on here. Letting these warrior monks chase the levy, probably not a good idea. Then again, lots of shots under these Nagy attendants, but it could have gone poorly for GenericServices if Scotch had instead bought and hit this bow levy here on the right-hand side, because his monks would be out of position. Also, they're exhausted now, so they're not going to be particularly effective. Naginata warrior monk hero, 10 of them left in that bow levy. You're probably going to win that, despite being outnumbered 12 to 1. That's just how they go. But without the support of the Nagy attendants, with no support, even against these Naginata warrior monks who are exhausted, they're probably not going to last the distance. Some more Nagy attendants brought in to help the warrior monk hero. And there goes the last of those Nagy attendants and the sword attendants. We then charge through. We have it's a kitchen sink fight. Oh my goodness! What has happened here? The mounted samurai hero has taken... It must have been those mounted samurai. Scotch has used his mounted samurai to slam into the mounted samurai hero and do some solid damage. It's not enough to take him out, certainly, but, you know, whittling down the hero units is what counts. This Banzai is going to win it, in my opinion, without the ability for those sword attendants to rout for the next 30 seconds or so, but with the mounted samurai hero in there, maybe they'll do some good things. We'll have to see. But that Nagy warrior monk hero, they've lost 3 of them and killed, well, that goes that flank. With GenericServices General now completely exposed, I don't see that there's too much left, although we have a desperate charge with the mounted samurai hero into the General's bodyguard. This could be interesting. It could be interesting. Who kills the General first? The 7 Nagy monks heroes? Or the 11 mounted samurai hero? He's down 10 General's bodyguard already. He's closer to killed. Will Scotch be able to handle it? Can he hold on? My god, they're just throwing the bow levy in for numbers, but they don't want any of that, and they shatter. No, they rout, sorry. So it looks like, and I'd have to say, GenericServices' last hurrah, this could be it. Yep, with that shattered, that's torn it. There's no way he can win from here. What a fantastic match. Both players absolutely threw everything, including the kitchen sink at it, and there was just charge, counter-charge, little things, and the farmhouse won it. The farmhouse really did, because it means these troops are in yellow tiredness or orange tiredness instead of completely exhausted. And just, who would have thought one little thing of just thinking that's not a big enough threat to divert my army for could have cost someone the match. Nevertheless, both players played spectacular Shogun. I'm really pleased about this. I'm sorry that Generic's been knocked out, honestly, because he really does have that little special something that I love to see in the players of Shogun. And with that, Scotch's second victory, Generic's second loss, Generic's knocked out of the tournament, and Scotch continues forward. Well, It was a great battle, everyone. Thanks for watching it. I want to thank both players for the spectacular job they did, and I hope to see you for the next one.